I don't think that there's a too young of an age. I think you just being mindful of the team you put them on or the coach that they're being coached by is super important.
Welcome to Fatherhood Voices, Breaking the Toxic Cycle. Dive in as real dads bear all, the mess-ups, make-ups, and every heartfelt moment in between. It's raw, it's real, and it might just change the way you see family.
Welcome to another episode of Fatherhood Voices, and I'm excited to have Coach Andrew here today, coming to us from Florida, and he's going to share not only his upbringing, but his passion that he has for sports and wanting to instill these in children as they're maneuvering through childhood into the teenage years. So welcome. How are you?
Thanks, Edward. I appreciate it. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So why don't you give the audience an introduction and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll just kind of take it from there.
Awesome. Yeah, so my name is Andrew Weingart. I'm a coach for youth athletes, specifically with mindfulness and the mindset aspect. And I grew up in New Jersey in a small town called New Egypt. And I grew up there my whole life until I was about 24 years old. And just to kind of go a little bit into my childhood and my background, super vibrant, bright, shy was definitely not a part of me or my vocabulary when I was young, and just happened to be blessed with, athletic talent, speed, agility. I was always the top athlete within the area.
Okay, so question for you. How old should kids be when parents start to introduce their kids to sports? Is there really an age? And because there's a lot of new parents that are struggling with when it's too young or too old to introduce them to sports.
Sure, yeah. I don't think that there's a too young of an age. I think you just being mindful of the team you put them on or the coach that they're being coached by is super important. Obviously, at a young age, I think what's most important is just that they're having fun. Allow them just to be out there, something to get them some movement, to keep their mind active. As you get older, it's going to naturally just become more competitive. And I think friendly competition for us as humans is important. And I think having a conversation with your children as they start to progress in sports about the importance of just having fun, not having this whole idea of I'm an athlete and it's my identity. And that you actually see that in NFL players when they get out of, or just any professional sports player, when they get out of sports, a lot of them have an identity crisis because they identify themselves with I am an athlete. And as soon as they're out of it, they don't know what to do. They don't know who they are. So I think it's making sure that your athlete and your child really just understands that this is just for fun. It's friendly competition, and just because you didn't score a goal or maybe because you got a goal scored on you or you lost the game doesn't define you and doesn't make you any better or worse as a person. So I think that's a major lesson to teach the children, and that will support them throughout as they move into the more competitive realm, because you're just naturally going to have, players that are super hyper competitive, and knowing how to navigate that as a parent, but also teaching your kid to be able to navigate that, I think is really, really important.
So I'll start off with something I did. When I introduced my daughter to sports at a very early age, I think she was 7 or 8 years old, I was very critical of the mistakes that she made, which turned her off. And she had a very short season with sports because from that point forward, she was done. I almost feel like there should be a 15-minute webinar or something for parents on the rules and etiquette of how to be a parent during sporting games, because I've had the opportunity to just kind of grace some of the parks during their opening ceremonies and stuff, and as the games are starting. And I'll just use Little League as an example because that's a sport right now that's in season. Man, there's some aggressive parents out there, and some of the stuff that they're spitting out from the bleachers at these children that are 7, 8, 9, and 10 years old, it's horrific. Now I remember, when I was very my ego, like that was me. But now just being in a different place, conscientiously and just being conscientious of things now, I look back and I go like, oh my God. And then you mix alcohol into it because of course alcohol is not allowed in the parks, but it happens. And it's a recipe for disaster. And the yelling that's going on amongst the parents and with the coaches and the referees. And this is something I've just been exposed to in the last couple of weeks. So who knows what the rest of the season is going to look like.